just inspired by the next generation. I think it's a time for a big change.
But for me, and for most of you, here's what it really is. It's an important first step.
Unlocking a new era. The Supreme Court's bold stance on concealed carry rights. Delve into the game-changing decision that redefines gun laws, balancing personal freedoms with public safety. Background. In a groundbreaking decision, the Supreme Court has reshaped the landscape of concealed carry rights in the United States. This ruling, a response to a series of tragic mass layings, asserts that Americans possess the constitutional right to carry firearms in public for self-defense. This development is poised to have far-reaching implications for gun ownership and regulation. Approximately 1/4 of the US population resides in states directly affected by this ruling. The decision, which struck down a New York gun law, marks the most significant gun-related decision by the High Court in over a decade. With a 6-3 split, conservative justices formed the majority while liberal justices dissented. Simultaneously, in the vicinity of the court, lawmakers at the Capitol expedited the passage of gun legislation in response to recent tragic events in Texas, New York, and California. Though the measure is considered modest, it represents one of the most comprehensive gun control efforts in decades. The ruling reverberates emotionally as well. The sister of a 9-year-old girl tragically slayed in a Texas school shooting passionately implored state lawmakers to enact gun legislation. Over the past decade, the Republican-controlled legislature has progressively relaxed gun restrictions, contributing to the broader national debate. President Joe Biden expressed deep disappointment with the ruling, contending that it defies both common sense and the Constitution. He urged states to enact new laws, emphasizing the urgent need for action on gun safety. The ruling specifically nullified the New York law that requires individuals to demonstrate a specific need for carrying a concealed firearm in public to obtain a license. Justices argued that this requirement infringes upon the Second Amendment's protection of the right to keep and bear arms. Justice Clarence Thomas, writing the majority, emphasized that the Constitution safeguards an individual's right to carry a handgun for self-defense outside the home.
Details of the law, but folks, listen at home. Here's a quick summary of what this law is doing. It's already allowing.
I'm just inspired by the next generation. I think it's a time for a big change.
Thomas underscored that this right is not a second-class right and pointed out that no other constitutional right requires an individual to demonstrate a special need to government officials. States such as California, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Rhode Island, which have laws akin to New York's, are expected to face swift legal challenges in light of this ruling. This sets the stage for potential legal battles over concealed carry laws in multiple states. Governor Kathy Hochul of New York expressed her dismay over the ruling, especially in the wake of the recent loss of 10 lives in a shooting at a Buffalo supermarket. She decried the decision as not aligning with the wishes and safety concerns of New Yorkers. Gun control advocacy groups view this ruling as a significant setback. Michael Waldman, president of the Brennan Center for Justice and a Second Amendment expert, remarked on Twitter that this decision can represent the largest expansion of gun rights by the Supreme Court in U.S. history. Republican lawmakers, however, lauded the decision. Tom King, president of the Plaintiff New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, expressed relief. He emphasized that lawful gun owners in New York will no longer face persecution by laws unrelated to public safety. He expressed hope that the focus will shift towards apprehending criminals and those responsible for heinous acts. The Supreme Court's ruling is poised to have a profound impact on the concealed carry debate, with potential ramifications for gun regulations nationwide. The decision highlights the ongoing struggle to balance individual rights with collective security in the realm of firearms regulation, concealed carry rights, and public opinion. The recent Supreme Court ruling on concealed carry rights, while significant in legal terms, appears to be somewhat at odds with prevailing public opinion. Among Republican voters, approximately half believe that laws should remain as they are, while the other half was divided between advocating for stricter and less strict regulations. This partisan split underscores the deeply entrenched and often polarized perspectives on gun control in American politics. Justice Stephen Breyer, in his dissent joined by liberal colleagues, emphasized the devastating toll of gun violence. He pointed out that in the early part of the year when the ruling was made, there had already been 277 reported mass slayings, averaging more than one per day. Justice Breyer accused the majority of not adequately considering the potentially lethal consequences of their decision. He argued that the ruling would place a severe burden on states' efforts to pass laws that regulate firearm ownership and use. Several conservative justices who joined Justice Clarence Thomas' majority opinion wrote separately to clarify their perspectives. Justice Samuel Alito questions the relevance of Justice Breyer's discussion on mass slayings and gun death statistics. He stressed that the court's decision did not address who may lawfully possess a firearm or the requirements for purchasing one. Justice Alito highlighted that many Americans have legitimate concerns for their safety and their right to self-defense is protected by the Second Amendment. Justice Brett Kavanaugh, joined by Chief Justice John Roberts, underscored the limits of the decision. States, he noted, can still impose requirements such as licensing, fingerprinting, background checks, mental health record checks, and firearms training. This recognition reflects the court's acknowledgments of the state's authority to implement regulations aimed at ensuring public safety. The ruling centers on New York's concealed carry law, which has been in place since 1913. The law mandates that individuals applying for a concealed carry license must demonstrate proper cause or specific need to carry a weapon in public. Critics of the law argue that its removal would lead to more guns on the streets and potentially higher rates of violent crime. Gun violence had already surged during the COVID-19 pandemic, and firearm purchases had seen a significant increase. In Swift, the Supreme Court's recent ruling on concealed carry rights has ignited debate and reflects the ongoing tension between legal interpretations and public sentiment. The decision is a critical chapter in the complex narrative of gun control in the United States, where individual rights, public safety, and political divisions intersect. A shift towards strict regulations. The recent Supreme Court decisions on concealed carry rights signifies a pivotal moment in the ongoing debate over gun control laws. This ruling centers on New York's concealed carry laws, which categorize licenses into two main types: unrestricted licenses, allowing individuals to carry firearms anywhere, and restricted licenses, which limit the carry of weapons to specific purposes like hunting, target shooting, or transit between home and business. The challenge to New York's concealed carry law was initiated by the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, an organization with long-standing history as a firearms advocacy group. The association, which bills itself as the oldest of its kind in the nation, partnered with two individuals who sought an unrestricted ability to carry firearms outside their residences. Their case revolves around the question of whether individuals have a constitutional right to carry guns beyond the confines of their homes. The Supreme Court's previous significant rulings on gun rights occurred in 2008 and 2010. These landmark decisions established a nationwide right for individuals to keep a firearm at home for the purpose of self-defense. However, the present case addresses a distinct aspect: the right to carry a gun outside of one's home. In authoring the majority opinion, Justice Clarence Thomas, who celebrated his 74th birthday on the day of the ruling, emphasized that the Second Amendment's language does not draw a distinction between home and public spaces with regards to the right to bear arms. This statement underscores the court's interpretation that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to carry a firearm outside of their residence. The ruling effectively challenges the notion that concealed carry rights should be limited solely to one's immediate living space. This shift indicates a potential move towards a more expansive interpretation of the Second Amendment, with implications for concealed carry laws nationwide. In instant, the Supreme Court's recent decision signals a notable transformation in the interpretation of concealed carry rights. By affirming the right to carry firearms outside of the home, the court is set to influence the landscape of gun control regulations across the United States. This ruling is poised to have far-reaching consequences for both legal precedent and public policy, as it addresses the critical intersection of individual rights and collective safety in the realm of firearms regulation. Second Circuit's Bruin response. The recent developments surrounding New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin have brought significant attention to the Second Circuit, following the Supreme Court's directive to the Second Circuit to address the pending cases. Hearings were held on 6 instances that contested the state of New York's resistance to the Bruin's decision.
Republicans, liberal, conservative, and I will ask them to We ended affirmative action in college admissions, and I strongly disagree with the court's decision.
The heart of the matter revolves around New York's stance on concealed carry permits. In response to the Bruin decision, the state swiftly enacted the New York Concealed Carry Improvement Act, CCIA, which imposed highly restrictive concealed carry regulations. This act came into effect just 8 days after the Supreme Court's landmark ruling in Bruin, which had declared the state's previous concealed carry laws unconstitutional. The Bruin decision emphasized that the government must demonstrate that any imposed restrictions align with the historical and traditional context of the nation, reaching back to the Second Amendment's ratification in 1791. Additionally, the Supreme Court emphasized that a state, like New York, cannot simply designate every place as a sensitive location to justify restrictions. Many cases stemming from the CCIA were initially granted preliminary injunctions by lower courts, temporarily halting enforcement of certain provision. However, the state of New York appealed these decisions to the Second Circuit, which subsequently issued blanket stays without providing detailed opinions or conducted hearings. In response to this, organizations like Gun Owners of America, GOA, and the Antonia case sought emergency review from the Supreme Court. Although the Supreme Court denied the emergency applications, Justice Alito attached an opinion emphasizing that the Second Circuit could not merely delay action or issue blanket stays. Instead, they were given a clear directive to either issue an opinion justifying the stay or expedite the hearings on the matter. These developments underscore the high-stakes legal battle surrounding concealed carry laws in New York. The Supreme Court's intervention and guidance highlight the importance of a thorough and fair examination of the constitutional implications at hand. As this complex legal saga continues, it stands as a testament to the enduring significance of the Second Amendment in contemporary American jurisprudence. Second Circuit's decision on CCIA challenges. The recent decision by the Second Circuit regarding challenges to the Concealed Carry and Immediate Access Act, CCIA, is a pivotal moment in the ongoing discourse surrounding firearms regulation in the United States. This decision holds significant weight as it encompasses multiple cases, each contesting distinct facets of the CCIA, a piece of legislation known for its multifaceted nature. Among the notable cases brought before the Second Circuit were the Christensen v. Negrelli case, which chiefly addressed concealed carry restrictions on private property. Additionally, there was the Anton Yelf v. Negrelli case, a broader challenge initiated by GOA, which ambitiously aimed to scrutinize various dimensions of the CCIA. Lastly, the Gazzola v. Haku case honed in on the implications of the CCIA on federal firearms licensees, FFLs, and gun stores. The consolidations of these hearings provided an invaluable opportunity to gain a comprehensive perspective on the legal intricacies surrounding the CCIA. The decision to consolidate the hearings on all the CCIA cases is a commendable move by the Second Circuit. This approach allowed for a more nuanced understanding of the legal landscape surrounding the CCIA, streamlining the process of facilitating a comprehensive examination of the potential implications and ramifications of the legislation.
But for me, and for most of you, here's what it really is. It's an important first step.
This proactive stance demonstrated a genuine commitment to addressing legal issues of considerable societal importance. However, it is essential to acknowledge a significant concern that emerged during the proceedings: the apparent bias of the 3-judge panel against the pro-Second Amendment 2A side. This bias was evident in their repeated expressions of dissatisfaction with the Supreme Court's decision in Bruin, a case that had previously set a precedent in this area. The panel's predisposition raises valid concerns about the impartiality of the proceedings. In any legal context, it is imperative that judges remain neutral and objective, particularly in cases of such societal significance. In the first case, Christensen v. Negrelli, the court's deliberation on the constitutionality of the vampire rule or private party approval rule was a crucial point of contention. It was heartening to observe that the judges generally acknowledged the standing of the plaintiffs to bring forth this challenge. This recognition of standing implies that the plaintiffs had a legitimate interest and stake in the case, a pivotal factor in determining whether a lawsuit can proceed. In light of these developments, it is clear that the Second Circuit's decision to expedite the hearings on the CCIA challenges signifies a proactive approach to addressing complex legal issues. This approach not only streamlines the legal process, but also provides a comprehensive understanding of the potential implications and ramifications of the legislation. In assumption, the Second Circuit's decision to consolidate hearings on the CCIA challenges marks a significant step in addressing the complexities of this multifaceted legislation. While the court's proactive approach is commendable, the apparent bias against the pro-2A side raises valid concerns about the impartiality of the proceedings. It is essential that the judiciary remain steadfast in upholding the principles of fairness and objectivity, especially in cases with far-reaching implications for constitutional rights. An in-depth scrutiny. In the recent hearings before the Second Circuit regarding challenges to the Concealed Carry and Immediate Access Act, CCIA, several key points emerged that warrant careful consideration. These points shed light on both the court's approach to the cases and the broader implications of the CCIA on concealed carry rights. A critical aspect that surfaced during the proceedings was the acknowledgement of standing for the plaintiffs to bring forth the challenge. This is a significant development, especially in light of previous instances in which district courts have grappled with the question of standing. In recent times, federal courts have been known to defer decisions on various issues based on standing concerns. The fact that the Second Circuit demonstrated a willingness to address this head-on is noteworthy, as it indicates a commitment to thoroughly examine the legal merits of the challenges. Another noteworthy concern raised during the hearing was the shifting burden on concealed carry holders. Traditionally, it has been the responsibility of businesses to display signs indicating whether concealed carry is permitted on their premises. However, with the implementation of the new CCIA law, this burden has undergone a significant shift. Now, it is the individual's responsibility to ensure they are in compliance with concealed carry regulations at various locations. This shift in burden allocations was a point of interest for some of the judges, highlighting the complexity and potential implications of the CCIA. The subsequent cases, Hardaway and Spencer, addressed the CCIA's restriction on carrying firearms in places of worship. This issue seemed to be of particular concern to the Second Circuit. Given the heightened sensitivities around places of worship, it is conceivable that the court may lean towards a more favorable interpretation of concealed carry rights in such settings. This could potentially lead to ruling in favor of the plaintiffs on these specific sections of the CCIA. However, the linchpin of these proceedings appeared to be the Anton Yelvinogrelli Goa case. This case presents a comprehensive and overarching challenges to the CCIA. It delves into the fundamental aspects of the law in New York, encompassing a wide array of concerns and implications. The case, in many ways, serves as the epicenter of the broad debate surrounding concealed carry rights and the CCIA. In Swift, the Second Circuit's deliberation on CCIA challenges offers valuable insights into the complexities and potential ramifications of this multifaceted legislation. The court's willingness to address standing concerns, scrutinize burdens shifting, and consider specific contexts such as places of worship reflects a meticulous approach to the legal proceedings. Ultimately, the Anton Yelvinogrelli case stands as a significant focal point in this legal battle, encapsulating the broader challenge to the CCIA and its impact on concealed carry rights in New York. New York's CCIA challenge before the Second Circuit. In the recent arguments presented before the Second Circuit in New York, a crucial focus was placed on the application process for obtaining permits under the Concealed Carry and Immediate Access Act, CCIA. This scrutiny aimed to dissect how this process potentially violates the precedent set by the Supreme Court's decision in Bruin, and what implications it may carry for future cases. A prominent contention that emerged was the question of whether the government should have the authority to gain access to individuals' social media accounts in order to assess their moral character. This issue emerged as a central concern for the Second Circuit, underlining the broader debate of privacy rights and government intrusion. It raises the crucial question of how far the state can go in evaluating an individual's character, and whether this assessment should be linked to the right to carry concealed firearms. A critical focal point of discussion was the application of a May issue scheme, where law enforcement agencies are vested with substantial discretion in determining who qualifies for a permit. The Supreme Court's decision in Bruin made it clear that such a subjective approach is impermissible. However, New York's attempt to reframe the CCIA as employing an objective standards is met with skepticism. Despite the claim that it has shifted from subjective to objective, it remains apparent that significant discretion is still afforded to law enforcement agencies. This raises concerns about the true nature of the evaluation process, particularly in light of the scrutiny on social media accounts. Despite the Supreme Court's directive to expedite the hearings and resolve the issues at hand, there has been a notable lack of progress since March. This has left many individuals in New York, New Jersey, and beyond seeking updates and clarity on the proceedings.
June of 2021, you changed the department's asylum rules so that it could apply to individuals with significant gang violence.
Because people buy hundreds of guns legally and then they sell them illegally.
The Second Circuit's prolonged deliberation may be attributed to the complexity of the cases before them, which encompass a substantial number of interconnected legal facets. It is conceivable that the Second Circuit is diligently crafting comprehensive opinions, cognizant of the fact that the resolution of this issue may ultimately find its way back to the Supreme Court. This demonstrates a keen awareness of the broader implications of their decision and a recognition that it could potentially shape future legal interpretations in this domain. In conclusion, the deliberations before the Second Circuit concerning New York's CCIA challenge delve into complex legal territory with far-reaching implications. The focus on the application process, the assessment of moral character, and the balance between privacy rights and governmental oversight highlights the nuanced nature of this debate. While the Second Circuit's deliberative pace may raise concerns, it is apparent that they are attuned to the significance of their decision in shaping the future landscape of concealed carry rights and legal standards. Recent developments. The recent emergency applications that ascended to the Supreme Court, particularly in Anton Yu's case, serve as a significant indicator of the potential trajectory of these concealed carry challenges. Justice Alito, in his opinion rejecting the application, pointedly noted that if the Second Circuit were to falter in its decision-making, the plaintiffs in the Anton Yu Goa case could very well seek recourse once again at the highest court in land. This highlights the weighty responsibility that rests on the Second Circuit to render a considered and legally sound judgment. Additionally, the Second Circuit is undoubtedly aware of recent legal proceedings in New Jersey, where Federal District Court Judge Renee Baum granted a preliminary injunction against a law that bore a striking resemblance to the CCIA in New York. This law, which New Jersey effectively transposed from New York's legislation, is yet another instance of the broader legal debate surrounding concealed carry rights. Furthermore, California is currently in the process of implementing a similar law, signaling a wider trend that extends beyond state lines. In light of these developments, it is evident that many circuit courts, particularly the Second Circuit, may be inclined to take a cautious approach. The prospects of these contentious cases eventually making their way back to the Supreme Court is a looming reality. Given the ideological leanings of the judges involved, the outright striking down of these laws seems improbable. In conclusion, the concealed carry challenges and the CCIA in New York present a complex legal terrain that has far-reaching implications. Recent developments, including emergency applications and legal proceedings in neighboring states, further underscored the significance of this issue. While the Second Circuit's decision is eagerly awaited, it is important to recognize the meticulous approach being taken to ensure that the ultimate judgment stands on solid legal ground. As the legal landscape continues to evolve, these cases will undoubtedly remain at the forefront of discussions surrounding Second Amendment rights and concealed carry laws. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.